Hi everybody, my name is Darius Washington and I chose prisoners as my vulnerable population. I wanted to start off by showing prisoners eating in their cafeteria because this just shows the tight spaces that they have to work with and the little social activity that they have. I have family members and close people to me that have been affected by the way that the prison system is set up, and that is why I chose this topic. This issue is something that should not be taken lightly because not everybody that is in prison is going to be there for life. So I feel like they should be able to receive the proper treatments and information that I'm going to provide, so forth, of this topic. This picture is of a globe encaged, and that is kind of my feeling of what it may feel like to be in prison. I just want to state some facts about our prison system. There are more jails than colleges in the United States, and also there are more people living in jails than on college campuses, which I found very bad. The state's spending on prisons have gone down, but that does not mean that the number of people being incarcerated has dropped either. The types of infections that prisoners may get from being in prison are HIV, hepatitis B and C, and tuberculosis. Those are the three main infections that I found while doing my research. Prisoners are 5 times more likely to catch the virus of HIV while being in prison than if they were in the general population. And the problem with this is that people focus on what is going on outside of the prison in terms of how cases are being handled and the way that people are being indicted on their sentences, but the main issue is what goes on inside the prisons, because at the end of the day, people are going to be released and they need to be able to function in society upon their release, whether it be for their physical treatments and health or their mental treatments and how they talk and how they go about themselves. The next slide I want to go into is the health issue, and the first one I want to identify is mental health, because I've had people in my family go to prison and be hurt from this mental health aspect and not come out the same. Many of these people in prison have been victims to negative life experiences that affect their mental health, and most of the people with mental health problems that are in prison, and when it has been detected that they have mental health, they are usually in prison for committing a violent crime, which can be reduced by getting the proper mental health treatment to understand where things have went wrong in their life and how they can make it right. This is in the next picture, and the picture on the left is what it looks like as HIV attacks the white blood cells that help our immune system and help us to generate good health. And the picture on the right is actually prisoners and them actually living together. And this is to say that the virus can be spread very easily because all the bacteria and that comes from people as they're living around can just easily be intercepted, whether it be from their blood or just their everyday usage of things that can just pass on from person to person in the prison. Basically, to become infected with HIV, it would have to be through blood, semen, or vaginal secretions that enter the body. Being able to detect this disease is important because basically prisoners can be placed in a different section of the prison if they have one of these viruses, instead of letting everybody that has the virus or that's not even detected of the virus be around each other, and it just spread like wildfire throughout the prison, and everybody that is normally healthy would then become sick. And this is not just for HIV, this is for common cold, for any type of illness that can come across people while they're in prison. The next thing I want to talk about is the social justice issue, and this is very important because as prisoners, human rights are something that is kind of taken away because you are in the system, you are under the system, and most people go by their number and not even their name when they're in prison. Prisoners are only available to minimum health services upon request, and sometimes overly requests aren't even taken to the point where they believe that they're just trying to get treatment instead of serve their time. And there should be equal rights for all humans, regardless if they're prisoners or not, because like I said earlier, these people will be released, and not everybody is in there for a life sentence. And it is very important for everybody to have the same health treatments regardless of where you are at. And the next section I want to get into is to who is to blame. And I find the government and politicians to be the top two people to blame, because the government is the one that implants the plans, and the politicians are the ones that are the second voice for them and that push for them to implement these strategies onto the people and to make it well in society and not have outlash. The government has basically started an austerity agenda, and that is basically to cut funds from certain places to pay off debts. And I believe that the government is cutting the spending of prisons to help their other causes. And this basically is important because money that is getting cut can be spent in other places, like learning activities and developmental activities for these prisoners to become better people while they are incarcerated and not just die down. And the politicians are to blame because as these people are implementing their strategies, they are the ones that are hands-on in the community, whether it be local news reporters or area governors, mayors, that actually push for these agendas and set up certain laws to where prisoners are basically handicapped and have to follow by the rules. This next slide is basically, this is all people of color, and this is them pleading for all rights regardless of who you are. And I wanted to use this as a utilitarian approach because I feel like if everybody can become unified and there can be a cause set to achieve the greater good for a greater amount of people, this will help everybody in the end of situations regarding prisoners, and it will help limit the amount of people that it has affect and help more people as the end result. This can help all prisoners with their treatment and the living conditions, because it is important you can get the right treatment, but if you're not living in the right conditions, the same treatments and the same diseases are going to keep overpowering the body. The last slide that here is with the cross and the people going around the world, just unifying the world, and I wanted to identify the Catholic social teaching perspective for that. And I found that to be very important because I am a Catholic, first of all, and they are focused on the common good and human dignity of all people. And what they mean by that is, regardless of if you are the offender or the victim, they want all rights to be apprehended and to be taken care of. They do believe that criminals should pay their dues for their time for the crime that they committed, but they do believe that they are people at the end of the day and should be able to have the basic needs that humans need to survive. And that is the way that the Catholics approach. They don't believe that it's just right for the victim to receive all the proper benefits of the government assistance, because the offender, he has family members and other people beyond himself that are being affected by the decisions that he made. So it would be right for everybody to benefit from the government assistance to make sure that everybody is okay. And these are my references that I posted from the research that I found, and I chose this topic basically because the prison system is corrupt and it should be transformed into something better for all people, and do right by those who have only committed minor crimes and handle the people that have done major crimes properly and accordingly. I believe that everybody should come out of prison as better people and as more focused, and not as behind in society and lacking the proper opportunities that go away once you are imprisoned. And that is all I like to talk about, and I will talk about this more in my paper. Thank you.